Imagine a plant that was once considered a sacred gift from the gods, a plant for which oceans were crossed, wars were waged, and entire empires were built. Now, imagine that same plant killing more people today than any war in human history. This is the story of tobacco, from the sacred rituals of ancient civilizations to one of the most profitable and destructive industries on the planet. Let's dive in. Archaeologists have found traces of nicotine on Mayan pottery dating back more than 2,000 years. However, some studies indicate that tobacco plants were used in the Americas even earlier, approximately 12,000 years ago. Long before the emergence of Europe as a civilization, the indigenous peoples of the Americas were already familiar with this plant. The Maya and Aztecs used tobacco in religious ceremonies, shamanic rituals, and for communicating with spirits. Smoking or chewing tobacco leaves was considered a way to achieve an altered state of consciousness and connect with the gods. Ordinary people were forbidden from smoking tobacco merely for pleasure. It was a privilege reserved for priests and chieftains. Native Americans believed that tobacco could cure headaches, toothaches, snake bites, and even wounds. The leaves were applied to the body, chewed, or used in the form of tinctures. Later, this belief in the healing properties of tobacco would spread to Europe as well. In Kirsertinostro, members of his expedition received dried tobacco leaves as a gift from the inhabitants of the Caribbean islands. The sailors simply threw them away, failing to realize the plant's value. One crew member later tried smoking himself and became the first known European smoker. There is a theory that the word tobacco derives from the name of the pipe used by the local inhabitants, tobacco, rather than from the plant itself. The Spanish misunderstood the meaning of the word and applied it to the plant itself. In the 16th century, the French diplomat Jean Nicot introduced tobacco to the French court, promoting it as a remedy for migraines. It was in his honor that nicotine was later named. European doctors seriously prescribed tobacco as a cure for asthma, cancer, and even the plague. Queen Elizabeth popularized smoking at court. Although she did not smoke herself, aristocrats in her circle turned pipe smoking into a symbol of status and sophistication. Smoking became fashionable and prestigious in high society. In 1604, James Spiro published a pamphlet titled Contra Tobacco, in which he described smoking as a disgusting habit harmful to the brain and lungs. Despite this, he imposed heavy taxes on tobacco, amassing a fortune from it. Growing tobacco required a tremendous amount of physical labor. It was the demand for tobacco plantations in Virginia that became one of the key reasons for the mass importation of African slaves into North America in the early 17th century. The Jamestown colony in Virginia was on the verge of extinction. Settler John Rolfe began growing tobacco for export to Europe, and this saved the colony economically. It was tobacco, not gold, that became the first truly profitable American commodity. In some 17th century European colonies, tobacco leaves were used as currency. They were used to pay taxes and purchase land, and even brides were brought to the colonies in exchange for a certain amount of tobacco. For a long time, people smoked pipes and cigars, whereas cigarettes in their familiar form appeared only in the 19th century. It is believed that soldiers in the Crimean War adopted the habit of wrapping tobacco in paper from Turkish soldiers. In 1890, the American James Bonsack invented a machine capable of producing more than 200 cigarettes per minute. Before that, cigarettes were rolled by hand, a process that was slow and expensive. In the early 20th century, smoking among women was considered improper. In 1929, a PR campaign organized by Edward Bernays presented cigarettes as torches of freedom, a symbol of women's emancipation. Following this, cigarette sales among women rose sharply. In the mid-20th century, advertisements featured doctors personally recommending specific cigarette brands as being gentler on the throat. Companies deliberately hired actors to wear white coats in order to create the illusion of medical endorsement. Internal documents from tobacco corporations, made public in the 1990s, revealed that the companies were aware of the carcinogenic properties of tobacco as early as the 1950s. Despite this, they continued to publicly deny the link between smoking and cancer. According to the World Health Organization, smoking claims the lives of millions of people worldwide every year. This exceeds the death toll of all the wars of the 20th century combined. Research shows that nicotine is comparable to heroin and cocaine in its potential to cause addiction. This is precisely what makes quitting smoking so difficult for millions of people. For a long time, cigarette advertisements were freely shown on television, in magazines, and even in cartoons for children. It was not until the 1970s that the United States completely banned television advertising for cigarettes. Despite decades of lawsuits, restrictions, and public condemnation, tobacco companies continue to generate billions of dollars in annual profits. The plant, once considered a sacred gift from the gods, remains today one of the most profitable and simultaneously deadliest commodities on the planet. From sacred Native American rituals to a multi-billion-dollar industry, the story of tobacco reveals how a single plant can transform the economies, cultures, and health of entire continents. The history of tobacco is a tale of human greed and addiction, and a stark reminder of how easily a myth about safety can cost millions of lives. Which fact from this story surprised you the most? Let us know by posting the corresponding number in the comments. And if you enjoy stories about how everyday things have shaped the course of human history, be sure to follow us. There are many more fascinating discoveries to come.